Good morning. Welcome to the forecast discussion for December 20th, 2012. It is currently 9:13 on a Thursday morning, supposedly one day before the end of the world. Okay, I'm just kidding. It's not going to end. Don't worry. Everyone relax. What is going to end, though, is this, let's call it warm pattern. We're going from warm and stormy to cold and stormy over the next couple of days, and it's going to get rather interesting throughout the northern mid-Atlantic and really over much of the eastern United States. First, let's look at the latest observations. As you can see, over the northern tier around Poughkeepsie and Messina, we're in the upper 20s to lower 30s. Same thing over portions of northeastern Pennsylvania. The rest of the northern mid-Atlantic ranges from the mid-30s to upper 30s with clear skies and calm winds. That will not last for much longer as clouds are starting to increase from southwest to northeast as a storm approaches from the Ohio River Valley and the Great Lakes. So let's take a look at our forecast. First of all, I want to show you the radar here. As you can see, we have a really impressive area of rainfall and snow developing over much of the Ohio River Valley and back towards Michigan and much of the Great Lakes. This is the radar replication of a storm that will basically change our entire weather pattern. This is the, I guess you could call the trigger at the surface that finally kicks everything into motion here and really gets things rocking as far as our winter weather pattern and just in time for the start of winter. So what we can expect for today is an increase in cloud cover. Our temperatures warm up nicely into the mid to upper 40s. Our temperatures are going to continue to rise into tomorrow morning ahead of this cold front that will be approaching as winds increase from the south and west. And then we have very heavy rainfall moving through for tomorrow morning. That's likely to create some havoc for the morning rush hour tomorrow morning with rainfall amounts anywhere from 1 to 2 inches, very heavy downpours, localized flash flooding, and let's not forget there's a few embedded thunderstorms in here that will create the potential for wind damage. We're talking about wind gusts over 35 miles per hour in combination with this heavy rain, leading to rather nasty driving conditions for tomorrow morning's rush hour. Just what you need for the end of the week. Taking a look at the latest infrared satellite picture, you can see high pressure is still in control over the St. Lawrence River Valley, but it is starting to give way and shift to the east as our upper level low over the Canadian Maritime shifts towards the east as well. And so as a result, the confluent and convergent upper level pattern that supports high pressure is shifting off towards the Atlantic. And that's what's going to allow this low pressure system to drive into the St. Lawrence River Valley and rapidly intensify. Now notice all the yellows and oranges here. That's a signal of very strong lifting, mostly due to the interaction of this warm air and this Arctic air behind this storm combining and going to set up a rather, well, nasty afternoon for much of the Chicago area with very heavy snowfall and blizzard conditions over the upper Midwest. As the storm lifts north and east, look for heavy rain to start to move into the region after 1 a.m. tonight. That heavy rain will continue on through tomorrow morning and drive to the northeast through the New York City metropolitan area in the afternoon hours. So in the Philadelphia metropolitan area, I think that you're going to see the heaviest rain during the early portions of the morning rush hour. In the New York City metropolitan area, the heaviest rain will be towards the later portion of the morning rush hour. And if you're in eastern Connecticut, you'll be dealing with this heavy rain into the early afternoon hours. Behind this heavy rainfall, winds shift to the northwest and increase anywhere from 15 to as much as 30 miles per hour. And more interestingly enough, temperatures are going to be crashing through the 40s into the 30s. Don't be surprised if you see a few snow flurries at the back end of this rainfall as this cold air is racing towards the coast. So you're going to see basically your warmest temperatures in the morning, and then temperatures crash thereafter through the afternoon and evening hours with a return to winter just in time for the start of winter. So pretty good timing here by Mother Nature as the storm lifts north and east. So what does this mean for our entire weather pattern? Well, let's take a look at a war vapor satellite picture. What do we have right now, and why is this storm able to lift into the St. Lawrence River Valley? Well, the reason why is because this upper level low is shifting towards, well, Iceland. And that leaves an opening for this storm to lift up into the St. Lawrence River Valley. Now, what's going to happen, what's very interesting, is there's a lot of mechanisms going on in the atmosphere right now, which I discussed in the premium discussions yesterday in the videos I put out. Now, what's going to happen is that this storm's going to blow up here and form a very powerful upper level low over southeastern Canada. High level, above normal heights at 500 millibars will also build over portions of Greenland and northeastern Canada. Meanwhile, this upper level low starts to collapse and starts to send disturbances one after the other from the southwestern portions of the west coast, like let's say southern California and central California, right through the southern plains and towards the mid-Atlantic coast. And that is where we'll start to get some very interesting interactions with some Arctic air that will be filtering into the northern mid-Atlantic, and plenty of moisture from the subtropical jet stream, which you can see is rather active. So we have a very active pattern developing, and the question is, how do these disturbances all interact? And what is the potential for snow with this type of weather pattern? Well, the potential for snow is increasing. The model guidance I decided to show this morning is the Canadian model guidance. Now, when you use model guidance, you use it as a tool, not as a crystal ball. And you have to think about which model is showing the most reasonable physical depictions via meteorological law. Okay? So, what I usually use is the European model guidance because it usually performs very well. But many of the models are all over the place. And when you see a major difference between the operational and the ensemble model guidance, you have to pause and think about this a little bit. What makes the most sense? Well, if you have a big, powerful upper level low in the St. Lawrence River Valley, the idea of any low pressure system tracking inland is highly unlikely because storms do not like to track into storms. So as a result, you have to go with a solution that's more towards the coast. So I'm kind of leaning on the Canadian model guidance for today to show my thoughts on where I think this pattern is going. It's not a crystal ball. It's not saying that this is going to happen verbatim, but it does give us an idea of exactly how this weather pattern is going to evolve over the next couple of days. So here we are this morning. As you can see, we have a storm over the upper Midwest, and we have dry conditions over us, some warmer conditions as well. Our storm this evening lifts up towards the Great Lakes. Rain starts to approach from the southwest, pushing into central Pennsylvania by the time we get to this evening. Late tonight on through tomorrow morning, very heavy rain is going to be approaching the Philadelphia and New York City metropolitan area. It's going to be a very nasty morning for the morning commute with very heavy rainfall, strong winds. Just a rough morning for driving, that is for sure, with this storm. And what's going to make things interesting is we're going to have a secondary low developing right over the Delaware River, and that's going to enhance the rainfall even more. So we're going to be dealing with a very stormy morning for much of the region. The good news is that this cold front is going to be moving quickly, so look for the rain to clear out in the afternoon hours. Clearance conditions can be expected, with very windy conditions as well, and temperatures crashing through the afternoon and evening. Now, notice what this storm does on Saturday. It lifts up into southeastern Canada and starts to form this block. Okay, you have a ridge here, trough here, a powerful block is setting up. Obviously, cold air is being driven right into the northern mid-Atlantic. We could even see a few snow flurries on Saturday evening via some mid-level disturbances that aren't shown very well in the model guidance, but you can't really rule it out. So as you can see, heading into Sunday, this block is firmly entrenched, and you can see heights just building here, a trough here. It's a very impressive upper level setup here. And what that means is that cold air is locked in over the coastal plain. Okay, this cold air is completely locked in. Meanwhile, as our upper level low over the Gulf of Alaska completely disintegrates and falls apart, disturbances will be entering the west coast and tracking towards this upper level pattern over southeastern Canada. Now, with this upper level low in place, it suppresses the storm track and sends low pressure system heading right towards the mid-Atlantic coast. So by the time we get to Tuesday morning, which it happens to be Christmas morning, by the way, you see on Christmas Eve we have an area of low pressure developing over the Ohio River Valley. We have some moisture, and clearly we're below freezing here at all levels of the atmosphere, except for the immediate surface. We're going to be more in the upper 30s to lower 40s. Again, this is dry, but our dew points are in the 20s. So if you add precipitation, you end up in the lower 30s, which would support snow. So by the time we get to Christmas morning, this disturbance is racing off the coast. Watch out for this setup right here. I think this is a bit overdone. I think this is one big upper level low, And notice the way that the upper level pattern is set up here. It allows an enhancement of a low pressure system right off the New Jersey coast, and we could see some light to moderate snowfall developing on Christmas morning. Have to watch this disturbance very carefully. It's too early to put out snow accumulations or anything of that nature right now, but clearly there is a threat for some snow on Christmas morning as our disturbance exits off of the New Jersey coast. So something to certainly keep an eye on as we move forward. We'll have a better idea on this disturbance likely by Saturday, because then it's on the west coast, so we should have more updates on this moving forward with that analysis. Thereafter, we have another disturbance over the southern plains that starts to intensify, and this is our next major winter storm. And this one's going to have to be watched very carefully, because the way that the pattern's setting up, first of all, I think this is a lot stronger, this block, okay? So we're going to keep the cold air, I think, a lot more over the northern mid-Atlantic than what's seen here. I wouldn't be surprised if this cold air is suppressed a little bit further because this high pressure system is stronger. So that's certainly something that we're going to keep an eye on, especially for ice threats as we head down towards southern Jersey and also towards the Washington, D.C. and Baltimore area. Now, as the storm lifts north, we're going to be dealing with, well, for one, plenty of moisture with this storm with an amped up subtropical jet stream, plenty of cold air via our polar vortex setting up over here, and a very impressive ridge driving Arctic air into the northern mid-Atlantic, and that leads to the potential for basically a snow/ice storm setting up over the northern mid-Atlantic. Now, I stress, we are several days away, and we have a lot of data to go over, and we have to see exactly how this upper level disturbance, upper level low, sets up over southeastern Canada. But as you can see with this storm, as it's approaching, will warm up over southern Jersey, possibly change over to rain, maybe a icy mix. We'll have to watch that. One concern here is notice see how this is kind of kinking in here. That tells me there's some cold air damming to deal with here with this type of setup. And then as the storm really blows up off the New Jersey coast and cold air gets pulled in, that rain-snow mix, even along the coast, changes over to all snow. And we deal with a rather interesting snowstorm, possibly for the end of December. Basically between December 27th and December 28th. Should be a very, very interesting period of time for the northern Atlantic. And then after, we get pretty cold as our upper level low, notice, still remains over southeastern Canada. And oh, by the way, yet another disturbance developing over the southwest. So we have a very interesting, very active, and yes, cold weather pattern developing for the northern mid-Atlantic. We're going to have to keep an eye on this. Don't be surprised to see models going all over the place with this type of weather pattern, because we're dealing with a lot of disturbances. But clearly there's plenty of potential for a lot of stormy weather conditions. I'm your meteorologist, Stephen DiMartino. Stay with NYNJPA Weather for the latest on all your weather information for the New York City and Philadelphia metropolitan area via NYNJPAweather.com and NYNJPA Weather on Twitter and Facebook. Have a wonderful day. Stay safe out there.